There's deception in the world. Lots of deception. The first kind of deception I really want to hopefully hit home with everyone is about the definition of spirituality. Spirituality in and of itself has been hijacked. Absolutely hijacked by all of, not all, but a lot of the spiritual gurus, I guess you would call them, to give you this notion that you have to live some kind of saintly life to be spiritual. Spirituality in its essence is simply realizing who you are, being in contact with yourself, thus leading you to contact with God. So you don't have to really do anything in particular or be any specific way to be spiritual or to get in touch with your spirituality. You don't have to do yoga. You don't have to meditate. I mean, yes, those are helpful things, but you don't have to do them, right? You don't have to be saying those affirmations and mantras and eating a vegetarian diet or anything specific to be spiritual. Now, yes, of course, as you travel through your spiritual journey, the more in tune you become with yourself, you're going to want to align to different things that you weren't aligned with before. That's the point of spirituality. That's the point of being spiritual, is to learn and grow, right? Grow from the learning. So, I mean, you can be someone who smokes. You can be someone who even indulges in alcohol or drugs. And I know a lot of people in the spiritual community don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. But that's the truth. Because being spiritual doesn't give you any other kind of label. You can be homeless and be spiritual. You can be a drug addict and be spiritual. Some people find spirituality through the use of drugs. Though I'm not recommending it, I'm just saying the whole definition of the word and the meaning, the true meaning and the true point to this awakening that we're having is to like wake up and realize things. Not to all become freaking saints. And again, yes, as you travel that journey, eventually you are going to get to where you're saintly because you're so extremely enlightened. You know, you're going to become a guru yourself. You're going to ascend as a master. Okay? But it doesn't have to start there. And a lot of people are really sketchy about even broaching the spiritual subject because they think that like overnight they have to be a vegetarian or this or that or whatever. And that's not true. It's absolutely not true. Also, what you do in your daily life does not delineate how far on your spiritual journey you've actually come. So enough with all these stigmatisms and labels. Enough. Okay? Let's just get rid of the judgments about all of it. It's good to have an opinion on things, and it's good to have belief systems in those things that resonate with you. And that's the point of what I'm talking about with spiritualism. This is not some new age thing. This is not a religion. It's not a cult following. It's not some specific way to live other than really listening to yourself, getting in touch with your feelings, getting in touch with your body. How does your body feel? How does your body respond around certain people? Listen to those things. Those are key necessary things that we need in life that we don't pay attention to anymore. That's what it means to be spiritual. Getting back to the nature of the self, of you as a being, right? Because you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So let's get the mind, body, soul back into connection, where we're listening to ourselves and we're thinking about, how do we speak to ourselves? How do we speak about ourselves to us? How do we speak about other people to us internally, you know? And then the only real thing to do for your first step in spiritualism is to start trying to change the way you think about some things, where you deem it necessary, okay? Not where somebody else says it should be. How does it make you feel to think this way about Joe Blow, right? Or Susie Q, whoever. How do you feel when you think about them? And why do you feel that way? Could you give them a little leeway? Could you maybe change your perspective of them, because it was judgment? Or do they fully deserve all of what you think about them? Did they earn it? Whether it's good or bad. Did they earn it? Do they deserve it? Do they really deserve it? Or is that just your ego saying, yes, they deserve it? And as you grow spiritually, you're going to actually look at those type of things from a higher perspective. We all do this on some level anyway as we grow and develop. And I'll get to that in a minute. But for right now, it's just about listening to how you feel and how you speak to yourself, about yourself and others. And really trying to start finding new ways to look at anything, okay? Anything that you think maybe you should, if there's the teeniest bit of a doubt that maybe you're not correct in the way you're thinking about it, just look at it for a minute. Reflect upon it, I'll give you a good example of a negative thought that could be flipped and looked at from a different perspective. Actually, I'll give you a few. Let's start with, let's say you have a neighbor and it's trash day. And let's say this neighbor is a little extra overweight, okay? A little on the chunkier side of things. And you watch your neighbor take their trash cans that need to go down the driveway for the trash man to pick up. You watch them load them onto their pickup truck to haul them down the driveway, which really isn't that long. But you look at them in judgment because they're putting them on the truck versus just walking the driveway that isn't that long with them. Maybe you're even thinking the walk would do them some good, okay? And if you're thinking this in a negative way toward them, as in, they're lazy and maybe this is why they're obese or whatever, rather than trying to see from their point of view why they're putting the trash cans on the pickup truck and taking it down instead of walking it. Try to see things from their perspective, give them the benefit of the doubt rather than think negatively and judgmentally toward them. Think in another way, because maybe they've hurt their ankle or maybe they've got a bad back. You don't know their whole story. So, even if they're your neighbor, you don't know their whole story. You don't know from day to day what's happened with them exactly. Not likely. So just try to see things from new perspectives. Even like when you're behind someone and you're driving and like they're going slower than the speed limit or slower than you would like for them to go. Nobody drives the speed limit anymore. So let's say they're driving exactly on the speed limit even. Okay? And it's aggravating you because you want them to go faster. Instead of getting aggravated, instead of feeling personal about it, because that's your ego talking when you feel that way. That's actually your ego, for those of you that aren't aware. So this is deception we do within ourselves, okay? Deception is literally everywhere. And the more we can eliminate the deception, the better clarity and the ease of discernment we're going to have with what is truth and what isn't, okay? So rather than taking it personal, rather than being angry, upset, whatever, with this slower driver in front of you, consider from their point of view. Maybe they're a new driver. Maybe they're an elderly driver. Maybe there's someone who's about to have a heart attack or a seizure or whatever, right? Like, you don't know. You don't know their story. You're not in their car. There may be some very valid reason for them driving. Maybe they have anxiety. Maybe being on the road actually causes them incredible anxiety, but they've really had to go from point A to point B. So they had to drive. At least they had the courage to get that much, right? They might be driving 35, 40 miles an hour, but they're driving. And you don't know their story. So don't judge people. Don't be mad at people so quickly. And don't just take it personal. If we didn't take so much personal, all kinds of things could be better. Because we deceive ourselves with our emotions. Rather than really listening to our emotions and asking ourselves, why do I feel that way? We just go off half-cocked sometimes on other people. And sometimes they don't deserve it. Other times they do. And you know the difference. You do know the difference. Because on some level inside of you, you're going to feel that guilt if you did it and it wasn't necessary. But you're going to deceive yourself and stuff it down and do nothing with it. Because deception is everywhere. Now, I have a very good point to this here in just a moment. So please bear with me. For now, I want you to focus on trying to see that new perspective. Give people that benefit of the doubt. Don't be so quick to judge or quick to be angered. Take a pause. Take a breath. Reevaluate. And be very mindful of your thoughts. That is the true beginning steps to spiritualism. Learn to mind your thoughts. Or rather, make your thoughts mind, would be the better way to say it. Force them to behave. Discipline them. Don't let them be willy-nilly, because that is taking true control of yourself. If you can control your thoughts, you can control all kinds of other things in your scope of control. And in time, you're going to start really being able to identify what needs improvement in you, where you need to tweak something out, or maybe change it drastically. And it'll be you deeming it so. It'll be you deciding, not other people. Because we're all on different levels of spirituality. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. So we're all already there. It's not like you're starting new. You've been on this path for however many years old you are. Okay? You've been on this journey that whole time. It's just now that you're becoming aware of it. And there's a reason for that. Just like there's a reason for the deception. And I'm getting to that. For now, just start with you. Start with your thoughts, your opinions, your judgment, your emotions. And I promise you, in very little time of actually doing that consistently, you're going to be absolutely amazed at how seemingly your luck in life changes. Because when we mind our thoughts and we can see things from a different perspective to where we're not emotionally invested in negative ways and we're not being judgmental toward ourselves or others in that negative way, all sorts of other things start to change. Because since we are spiritual beings, we also are a walking biological antenna of sending and receiving information at all times, in all directions. And so when you're putting out a signal of more compassion, more thoughtfulness, being more mindful, then you're going to get that back as well. And you're going to start learning to file your thoughts according to what you really truly desire in your heart. You see? Because like my favorite quote ever of Einstein's, the intuitive mind is the sacred gift, and the logical mind is its faithful servant. Okay? Your intuition is your gift from God. The logical mind is its servant. It's here as a helper, a sidekick. Okay? But we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Now I want you to think about that. One of the smartest men in the world was so intelligent, he was aware that he was a spiritual being. He was aware of our innate gifts that we all have. And we need to all become aware of that. Okay? And yes, that's my opinion, but in that opinion, my reasoning for it is that it's for the betterment of every single individual to truly know their self and know how to use the tools they already have in their shed. I mean, what good's a chainsaw if you don't know how to work it? Hell, what good's a wrench or a screwdriver if you don't know how to use them? You could have a whole shop full of great tools, which you do. But if you don't know how to use them, you don't even know their name. They're just sitting around collecting dust. And then someday you learn, oh my God, I have this great tool that everybody else is just like dying to have, and I'm the one that has it. I didn't even know I had it. I don't know nothing about it. Now I got to learn how to use it and share it with the world. Because that's what tools and gifts are for. Use it for your benefit and share it with the world. So that's the first deception that we truly need to be looking at and becoming aware of, is the deception that we've done with ourselves. And yes, you can say all the reasons why this has happened. Society, brainwashing, whatever. You know, blame 1,000 things. And they are all a part of it. They are all at play. The thing is, flipping that perspective to where it's not blame, but acknowledgement and awareness instead. Okay? So bear with me, because we're getting there to the big one. So in time, all these things that you deem need improvement or that need a change in some level or another, they're going to like really change your life all the way around. I promise. It'll change your life all the way around. You'll absolutely be amazed at how much your entire life will improve. Like a domino effect. It will start to improve because you've changed your thought. And I don't mean like Pollyanna bullshit thought. I'm not talking about puppy dog tails and rainbows and fluffy bunnies. Bullshit. Okay? I'm just talking about like Joe Blow the neighbor who's overweight, you know, cut him some slack. Don't be so judgmental. You don't know his story. You don't know his full health makeup. So don't be so quick to be judgmental. And I mean, that's another thing you're going to learn on your spiritual journey, is that judgment is really like a mirrored thing, where you're looking at them, looking at you, looking at them. It's that monkey see, monkey do, but a comparison, like a competition thing. You know, do they measure up to where I'm at? Do I measure up to where they're at? And we got to stop that. We got to just like quit looking at everybody else. Just look at yourself. You know, I mean, you can see with your eyes who's doing what and who's where. Okay, fine. They're here, they're there, they're here, they're there. Where am I? Where am I in it? That's all that really matters to me. Where am I? Because that's what you can control, is where you're at. You can't control them. You can see them. You can understand where they're at. But there's no blame. There's no personalizing it. There's no ego. There's no judgment. Only compassion and understanding. And yes, granted, the people that are doing really terrible bad things, I'm not saying they don't get to be punished or whatever. I'm not, like, that's not even, so some of you, please just don't go there, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. We don't let people get off scot-free for doing bad things. I'm just saying, you know, we're not talking laws. We're talking just for you as a human, a spiritual being. Do your own check-in, mind your own business in that manner, right? Because you are going to start seeing a difference, since we're that antenna, that transfer of information, data flow that's going on all the time. Okay? So, deception and evil are everywhere. It's within us. It's all around us. Okay? We all have good and bad in us, and we are all deceiving ourselves on some level or another until we do the check-in. All right? But I don't want anyone thinking that it's correct to point blame in these evils and deceptions per se. Okay? It's not a point blame thing or a judgment thing on that level. From a higher perspective level, we can look at it all as part of God's plan. It was purposefully created. Duality was purposefully created by God. It was necessary. It was necessary because you would have never learned anything or grown at all from infancy if there wasn't duality in the world. This is how we learn to navigate through this life. It's always how we've learned to navigate. From day one, from the time we came out of our mother's womb, we've been learning to navigate back and forth between right and wrong, light and dark, good and evil. Right? Duality is necessary to learn to navigate. Why? Because you are a spiritual being in a human experience. To grow, to learn, to experience, so that your soul can eventually become so completely compassionate that you can see through the eyes of God. That's back to oneness. That, to me, in my opinion, is truly going to heaven. When you go back to the one, you go back to source. You become part of God again in that complete whole sense, from leveling up in your spiritual growth. So duality was created with as much purpose as free will. So the other day I did a video where I was talking about relationships and why they fail. And I was talking about how honesty is the best health of building a foundational, good, strong foundation for a relationship. But I want to also add that the deceptive relationships we've been in, the hurtful relationships we've been in, even if you would deem them pure hell, okay, were just as purposefully happening to you in particular, as a good relationship would purposely happen for you. It's all there in order for us to learn and to grow. It is how we learn how to truly be of service to others and truly love our neighbor. And it is also how we truly learn through these heartaches, through these hardships, is how we learn our own self-worth and how to love ourselves. And it's how we know ourselves. Like Jesus said, know thyself. You need to learn to know yourself better. Get to know you better. Have conversations with yourself. Really dig deep if that's what makes you feel comfortable. Get to the bottom of it. Because you don't necessarily need someone like me to help you heal any kind of inner emotional traumas or childhood scars. If you know how to talk to yourself on a deep enough, honest enough level. But I digress. The relationships that we experience through this lifetime, whether it be with family, friends, or romantic relationships, the good ones and the bad ones were all purposefully put in place for us to learn from. If you're what I call a repeat offender with a narcissistic type, it's because there were still more lessons for you to learn from that personality type. Okay? So don't see yourself as a victim, and don't see yourself as a failure. And don't see them as any particular way. Because it was necessary in order for both of you to learn. And free will is what gave you the choice, whether you would learn or they would learn or not. Okay? We need the darkness in order to see the light as something totally separate. We've been waking up to this for a very long time now. And now, in this time that we call the Great Awakening, it is the time to become aware of that, to be conscious of that. It's also a time to become aware and conscious of understanding the various types of darkness and levels that there are to it, and the deception. Because there's a whole host of levels of deception that are going on in our world, all the way from starting from within you deceiving yourself and having dark within yourself that either you're stuffing down or letting out too often and not finding the balance with. Okay? And you're not being totally honest with yourself. So it goes all the way from that scale all the way across the globe to the religions, the politics, the way they're teaching history that isn't the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So we have many, many different levels of deception. We have people hijacking the spiritual movement. We have people hijacking the UFO research. There's hijackers everywhere. So there's dark everywhere. The news is infiltrated, and we're not given the whole truth and nothing but the truth by true journalism most of the time from the mainstream media these days. The levels of deception are everywhere. And they're all the way from the great big scale to the micro scale within you. Okay? And they were all necessary for this awakening to occur the way that it is, for there to be a purpose for an awakening, for there to be a purpose for you to have soul growth, to level up, to continue to learn through experience and mistakes, failures, heartache, pain, turmoil, as much as the joy, so that you can see the difference between the light and the dark. It was all necessary and purposeful. So it was all part of God's plan. So don't take it personal when people hurt you. See what there is there to learn from it. See it from their perspective. Perhaps that's what you need to learn, is more compassion for other people. See if there's something within you that is insecure and lacking somewhere, where you feel a lack, or you feel that you are less than, that creates this repetitive pattern in you and your experiences. Whatever it is, like, just do check-ins, you know, and be honest. Be honest with yourself. We are in darkness right now. That's a fact. And that, again, that darkness is on different levels, various levels. Because, yes, we're in a darkness where there's like a shroud of evil happening across our lands at this time. Corruptions. Some way worse than others. But we're also, planetarily speaking, we're also in the dark rift of the Milky Way. Okay? So our position in the solar system right now, or our solar system's position in the galaxy, rather, is that we're in the darkness. We're in the dark rift. It feels icky sometimes. Emotions get overwhelming. We feel out of whack. Sometimes you're more intuitive than you realized you were. All of these things are necessary. Maybe you're extra dizzy. Maybe you're foggy-headed. Maybe you're extra fatigued. Again, all normal symptoms of being within all of this darkness and us being in what's called an awakening. All of these experiences are lessons and tests. And many of them are cyclical. I'm sure you remember learning in history about a time in our past called the Dark Ages. What about the Golden Age? Have you heard of that one? Did you know that the light always comes after the dark? Because it does, it's true. All this has been necessary for you to wake up to things, these deceptions, these lies, these misrepresentations of things, such as spirituality itself. All of these emotional feelings that are surfacing and welling up now, particularly with the ebb and the flow of the tides and the moons, is a way to clear you out, make you purge all that, try to force you to look at it. Particularly, one of the cyclical areas of darkness that we find ourselves in happens on a yearly basis. Really beginning around Hallows Eve, and then fully sinking into it with solstice, Christmas, winter solstice, and then not really coming out of it until we get to the spring equinox. And so all of these old traditions, what they would call pagan traditions, and even Christian traditions, have adopted many of the pagan traditions. These traditional things that we would use, these symbologies that we would use and still do today, were actually necessary things to get us through the dark period. The Yule log, the wreaths, the candles, the evergreens, many of these things, the holly, oak, are symbols that help us to get through this time of year and to protect us from the evil, from the darkness. Because at this time, at this particular time, between Hallows Eve and spring equinox, really, I personally feel like all the way up to about May 1st. This is when our veils are thinner. This is when we can see and interact between the worlds of the living and the dead with much more ease. So a lot of the older ancient traditions that we still lend service to and honor to today, even if we don't understand why, they were put in place as protection from the dark. And we need to understand these things better. You know, we need to honor them with the proper respect as we experience them, so that we can more clearly understand how the evil is necessary and the deception is necessary, but also how to protect yourself from it. Just because it's necessary doesn't mean you have to experience it. Once you become aware and awake, you can avoid those trials and tribulations and that pain. So, particularly this time of year while we're in this darkness, and also in the position of the dark rift of the Milky Way, my advice to you is that this is a time to preserve your energy and to protect it. But it's also a time to focus on the changes that you desire, because it's a very prosperous time for all of us if we know how to be mindful of our thoughts and focus our intention, focus our thought energy, our desires, our wishes into a specific direction that would better us. We have that ease of ability in manifesting and creating in this dark point, okay? Much like you would hear about people who do particular spells or incantations or whatever. They do it in the night. They don't do it during the day when the sun is up. They do it at night with the moon. Because the magical practices happen in the darkness, okay? It's why it's necessary to protect yourself, and it's also why it's necessary to focus your intent at this time. Because in the darkness, there's more magic. Thus leading to us being in the dark rift of the Milky Way, there's more magic there. There's more stardust there. And Einstein writes an equation that says that the further we progress into the awakening and the dark rift, the more force merged our right and left hemisphere of our brain will become. And ta-da, all your psychic gifts are going to get turned on, and you're going to start realizing you have them. Then you're going to have to learn how to use those tools that you didn't know were there before. So, protect and preserve your energy, but also focus on the changes that you desire to see in your life. And by doing your own work to shift your own dial, to tune into a new channel, you actually shift the entire collective, because it really does change with one person. One little old you and one little old me tuning our dial in to a new frequency that benefits us, actually benefits the world. When it comes from a place of the heart, not ego. I don't mean benefit you for ego stuff. I'm talking about benefits your heart. What brings you more love? What brings you more joy? You know, those type of abundances. Even if it's peace of mind. Right? You don't worry so much anymore. You don't have the anxiety anymore because you've shifted your perspective to look at it from a new lens. And so now you have that peace within you. Having that peace within you and being able to maintain it will bring you so much beautiful stuff. It's going to bring you a lot of joy. And then you can take that a step further and do something else. And then take that a step further and do something else. It's a learning and growing process. Just like when we learn to crawl, and then we learn to walk, and then we learn to run, and then we learn to jump off of things. Right? Learning and growing. Speaking of being a child. As a child, currently and in the past, in our societies worldwide, you can't control much when you're a child. There's not much you have control over. I mean, from the very basic, you know, your parents are your boss. Your parents are the ones to tell you right and wrong, you know, punish you if you're bad, or praise you or not if you're good, right? Either way. But it starts with the parents, right? They have control over you. Older siblings have control over you. But all sorts of people and things have control over you as a child, currently and in the past. Because you were never taught as a child how to embrace your gifts. You were never taught as a child that you had tools that you could use. In fact, as a child, you knew those tools existed, at least some of them. And the older people around you, the adults around you, told you to put those tools away and don't play with them. Don't use them. By second grade, by the time you're 7, which is important, and I'm going to get to that too, by the time you're 7 years old, they've already stuffed every bit of imagination, every bit of connection with the spirit world that you had innately as a little child. They stuff it. They don't want you believing in it. And that needs to change. For a reason. We can't blame our parents for it. We can't even really blame society because we all, as a collective, allowed it to happen, and it was meant to happen, right? It was meant to happen to culminate to this awakening. It all needed to culminate and snowball to get you to wake up. It was necessary and planned. However, as everything is necessary and planned, there is a lesson in it. And with lessons, we grow and we level up. As an adult, we start learning some of that control again, right? And then we get kind of control hungry. And that gets into a whole other area of where we need to bring it all back to when we were kids and do things differently for the children than have been done in the past, so that none of this bullshit has to happen. We can eliminate all of it. But as an adult, you do have the option and the freedom to now learn who you are, to know thyself, and to be accountable and take control of your life to some extent. In order for us to truly ever save the children from any type of danger or any type of true harm or true need to have some control in a situation, we need to teach the children who they are. Hone those natural gifts in them. Encourage them to strengthen those tools and their ability to use them. We teach them their power, and then children have their power back to help defend themselves from things that are harming them or people. Do you feel me? We give them a voice again by giving them their power back. And then they will know that they do have a choice in the matter. Because all children always have anyway. We were just told we don't. And I've learned this. I have learned this multiple times in my childhood and other children's by observing and paying attention. The children have the gift and the ability to use it just as much as the adult does. The only difference there is that the child thinks they have no choice and no control, and the adult thinks they have some. But this is the true key to how we end any kind of evil harm to our children. Because I promise you, if we honed all of our children, just as we hone our own skills, you would know that you have many defensive abilities to utilize as well. When they're necessary, they're there. And they're of great use. So I want you to want to tune your own dial to a different frequency and learn to harness your tools and be a master craftsman with them. And help me to teach the children to hone theirs and embrace theirs so that they can help us to protect them. By tuning our dial and choosing not to live in fear or chaos or lack any further, we don't even have to focus on how to fight the enemy. Because by merely improving you and bringing more light to the world, we snuff out the darkness. And if you could imagine all of us sitting around or standing around collectively, and we all joined hands. And then everywhere that you see hands joined, you see a point of light. We would make a really bright collective, a huge beacon of light, and also a very cool geometric shape. That's sacred geometry. But just holding those hands and seeing those points of light everywhere, we would snuff out the darkness. Because there is power in numbers. And there's so much power in you. You could knock out electricity to 900 people in your radius just to heal one person. You're that powerful. You could raise that loved one that you know it wasn't their time to die yet back from the dead. You could heal those dis-eases within you and others that don't yet know how to use all of their tools and be a master craftsman. And you don't have to be any of those fabulous things if you don't desire to. I hope that you should at least desire to eliminate the deception and understand the point of the evil is to learn to be the light, even if it's just for you. Because we have to start with loving ourselves. And by you truly loving yourself from a heart space, not an ego space, it already shines your light on darkness. So we're another step ahead, automatically, whether you want to be on the team or not. It's a beautiful catch-22. It's time to balance that inner dark side, that inner shadow self, with our better self, our good self, our light self. Balance that inner masculine and feminine qualities that we all have. Embrace your intuition. Embrace your gifts, even if you don't think you don't have any. I mean, even if you think that you don't have any. Be open to the possibility that maybe you do and you're just not aware of it. And just start with listening to your thoughts. And don't let yourself deceive you, lie to you, or ignore you. Become more nurturing to yourself. Listen to all of your senses, your gut. Once you balance out from within, all of what's around you will begin to balance out as well. This year brings great changes to all of us. Currently, we are in a very rare alignment with Pluto in Aquarius that has not taken place for 200 years. It's going to be in and out a little bit over the next couple of years and then settle in for the next 20 in about 2024, the end of 2024. It'll settle in and stay directly in Aquarius. This is huge for us because this is a time for us to recreate ourselves. This is that Phoenix moment. This is that resurrection, that rebirth, that Christ consciousness being activated. It's a big time for all of us. It's time to prepare your spirit for what is to come, so that we may go through these changes and these experiences with a new lens, with compassion, and with grace. A new understanding will allow us to navigate these great changes ahead with a clear understanding, a clear awareness, and a clear ability to focus our thoughts properly. Whatever that means for you. Properly and specifically. On where you need to go. What needs to be healed or shed, released, or corrected within you or around you. Great changes are coming. Do your house cleaning. Get your house in order. Prepare your spirit. In 2004, I was shown a very powerful vision with all of our great changes that are to come. And just like the FEMA commercials that we now see on TV, at the end of the vision, I very loudly heard, "Be prepared." And of course, FEMA didn't have commercials like that then, but for all the disasters and stuff, and then, paid for by FEMA, be prepared. But I immediately, instinctively was thinking, I need to prepare my shelter. I need to prepare water storage, water purification, all, my bug out bags, get all that stuff in order. Start teaching people how to do this. Live off the land. Preservation of humanity, right? Only for it to hit me at the age of 32. I think it was 32. Anyway, I'm not doing the math right now. Only for it to hit me later that spiritually is what we need to be getting prepared for. Spiritually. And that's when I really started figuring out, how do I teach this? How do I share this knowledge that I have? How do I get people prepared? Because, this is like me jumping into action. How do I save people? Right? I'm a Cancerian. That's what we do. We're fixers. We save people. It's like our mission in life. So it's also one of my lessons. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. But it was, I figured it out finally, that it was that we need to prepare spiritually. And I've been at that. I've been on that mission to help prepare people spiritually ever since then. This is that pivotal year, guys. This is that moment that many of us have been waiting for. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're in for a ride. Whether you're prepared or not, we're in for a ride. But I'm here with you. So I was talking about when I was 32. This happened. Some things, big things happened for me at the age of 32. Okay. But every 7 years, big things happen. And I'm pretty sure that for most of you, you're going to be able to look at your own life in reflection and review and realize that every 7 years were pretty pivotal for you. Because it's cyclical, just like everything else. Every 7 years, we do a level up. We do like a aha moment. I understand these things, awareness, awakening type of a event, okay? And so I've had many check-ins with myself throughout my entire life. All people have, even if you're not realizing that you're having check-ins with yourself for growing up and leveling up. When you're becoming aware of things and having those light bulb moments where you understand something, that's you leveling up. And it's scientifically proven now that it does happen every 7 years in a human lifespan. So it's seriously, as early as 7 years old, I can remember my first real aha leveling up. Okay. I was really starting to look at who I am and who the people around me are and how accurate that fits with what they say. Like, do their actions match their words? You know? It's also what started me getting into trouble with my mother. Because I would point things out. Anyway, I digress again. My most pivotal check-in with myself, my deepest dark night of the soul experience, or looking at my shadow self, or looking at my dark side, however you want to look at it or express that, but being truly honest with myself about who I was. I was 32. It was a smacked me in the face, made my head spin moment. And it's not that I was like this really terrible person or anything, not at all, but I was seeing so many different ways that I could improve that it felt overwhelming, almost to the point of feeling like a failure to myself and to everybody that I love. It was a very huge moment for me. And I don't mean moment like it only took 60 seconds. Just that moment in time for me, of that age of 32. Because I could see where life had allowed me to meander in different valleys and alleys where I shouldn't have necessarily went astray with something, you know? Not necessarily like my morals got fuzzy or twisted, just my character, you know, who I really thought I wasn't really matching up with who I actually was being, if that makes sense, right? Like my image of myself wasn't matching my true character that I was showing the world, even for myself. And so it was a huge rocked my world moment for me. And I needed to understand the psychology behind that. Really deeply needed to learn the psychology behind it. Like what causes that in us? Why do we do things, say things to ourselves or others that don't really reflect how we feel? Like, how do we even allow that to happen? And it's that encouragement that society gives us to be lackadaisy in paying attention to that. Sorry, my heater kicked on. Now my throat's tickling. And yes, I said throat. My throat is tickling. But anyway, I started really dissecting that and learning how to not only understand for me, but to be able to teach it to other people so that we don't all make these mistakes and sabotage ourselves and relationships that we have with people that we care about. And so I started balancing out in that, you know, about 33, 34. On down the road, I'm getting good at being there, right? But we have these awakenings every 7 years, right? So at 39, I had another one. Not nearly as huge, but I had another one. Another, okay, here's where I really see now that I could change or improve or grow, or I've outgrown this, or I don't need this kind of lifestyle anymore, or I don't need those kind of people to hang out with anymore, or whatever it is, right? Because it's just like going from a child to an adult at different stages and levels. When we're teenagers, girls like to wear mini skirts, but by the time we're 40, it's not really so appropriate anymore to wear the mini skirt. Again, a societal thing, but you get what I'm saying. It's a change, a progression, right? Because I personally feel like women and men alike should wear whatever they feel great in, and not let there be any judgment there. But that kind of gets off the point of what I was saying. I just want to throw that in. But we level up, at different phases of our life as we grow and change, and we don't need certain things anymore or whatever. In the last 7 years in particular, it seems like for me personally, I've been doing those leveling up on a yearly scale rather than it waiting every 7 years anymore. It's just every year there's another big lesson, big lesson, big lesson. And particularly in the last 3.5 years, it's been like, okay, little lessons every single day, little lessons. About once a month, okay, aha moments, and then like every year, the finalization of the big lesson and those tests, right? And so now I know, I really know, and I really understand that it's okay. It's okay if people are uncomfortable around me. This is how much I've changed. Because used to, like I said, I'm a Cancerian, so I'm very empathetic. I feel everybody's emotions in the room. And if I can feel that they're uncomfortable, normally that makes me want to be that people person, that fixer. Let's just fix it all, right? Let's fix it for everybody so that they don't feel uncomfortable. And by the time the whole event is over, I'm so emotionally drained, I just want to drop or cry or something. I'm just like wore out from it, from being so busy trying to fix everybody else. But I'm at this place now where I'm very comfortable with feeling them being uncomfortable with who I am. Because I'm so comfortable in who I am. I'm so confident in who I am. I mean, I literally can own a room when I walk in it, okay? I can make the room, the crowds of people part like it's the Red Sea. And I've done nothing but stepped in the room in all of my presence. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I'm very comfortable in my knowledge, my intelligence, my everything, my appearance and all of it. And I'm not saying I think I'm perfect. I'm not talking about ego. No. It's totally different from ego. I truly love who I am. I'm truly proud of who I am. So I walk in that room with full confidence and can own that room because I own me. All of my thoughts, all of my actions, all of my words and deeds, I can own me. And I don't allow others to make me feel uncomfortable for who I am any further. See, it's flipped. And that's the interesting thing about the Cancerian symbol. It looks like a 69 on its side. It's the yin and yang. And it used to be that I was the people pleaser. And now I'm the me pleaser. I'm pleased with me. Right? Instead of feeling like I've accomplished something because I made all of those people happy, I feel like I've accomplished something because I could make me happy. I know how to make me happy now. And that's important and that's huge for Cancerians. It's huge. But I had to learn to accept myself. You see, I was overcompensating for everybody else because I felt that lack within me of that self-worth, that self-love. And now I have it for myself. And I still regularly do those check-ins. We always should. There should never be a point in your growth at all where you would think you don't need a check-in anymore. That would be ego getting back in, and you better be doing more check-ins than anybody else if you're thinking you don't need any. Because that's huge ego. I still daily look at me and check in and tune my dial accordingly, because we're all human and we're all going to slip and we're all going to do some things. So yeah, I check in daily. Damn right I do. Now, I've mentioned several times that I'm a Cancerian, and there's a reason for me to always say that. Each of us are born into a specific sign called our sun sign that comes with special gifts, special strengths, special weaknesses, and special lessons, all for a purpose. Also, depending on the placement of the other planets at the time of your birth, you will have like your moon sign, your rising sign, your Venus, your Jupiter, all those things, right? And all of those different zodiac signs are important to understand if you really want to understand yourself and your makeup. Because this is going to teach you where all of your personality and characteristic traits come from. It's going to show you very clearly. And it's going to show you also very clearly why you can't do this very well, or you didn't do that very well, or, you know, this is where you need to work more. And, oh, this is why I can do this so good, and this is, you know, one of my gifts to the world and to myself. So, you know, it's about finding the balance between those. It's about learning each side of it, the pros and the cons, so that you can balance them up to each other, right? Bring them up to where they're equal. Learn from some and then utilize the others to benefit you and the ones around you in the world, whatever, you know. But all of it matters. And it's all that makeup of your character, right? Your personality, your insecurities, your securities, how much ego you have or how little you have, you know. Again, I'm a Cancerian, so, and I'm a Cancerian sun, moon, and rising, with Gemini and Sagittarius both in my chart as well. So kind of all the odds were stacked against me for having true self-confidence, which made me extremely modest and the extreme opposite of greedy, because I wouldn't take my fair share of anything. I would take way less than my fair share because I was a people pleaser. I was willing to give up my pieces of my share to everybody. You know, I would divide up my slice of pie and give it to everybody and maybe have one bite of it myself. Maybe. That's just who I am. So that was a really hard lesson for me to learn how to love myself and how to learn how to go ahead and have my own piece of pie first before I let everybody else have a piece of pie. You see? But we all come with those strengths and weaknesses and those gifts and talents and lessons to learn. Confidence also was not one of my strong suits. Whereas Leos are very confident, extremely confident. That's why they're great leaders. Not necessarily always so competent, because that is one of their lessons is, you know, their ego, balancing their ego. But their confidence is their gift. As long as it's not abused, it can be used and utilized in very beneficial ways for themselves and others. Sagittarius, for example, they need to learn to control that fire in them. They're a fire sign, and they're very tempered. They're very passionate. Whether it's about anger or love, they're very passionate. And they need to learn to, bring that down and balance it out. But they also have great gifts of artistic value and creative abilities, and usually very philosophical and deep in their thinking. They are great friends. They have a great sense of humor. Aquariuses, for example, are supposed to be the true nurturers, the true teachers of spiritual love and understanding out of the whole zodiac. But many Aquariuses actually are so caught up in low vibration petty things like gossip and chaos and dramas and even lies and deception or manipulation of others. They get caught up in that because they have that ability to navigate people. They would make great salesmen. They're very creative in their thoughts, and they're quick thinkers, So all of these things can be utilized for very beneficial things, but unfortunately, many of them get caught up in the lower vibrational things, and that's their lesson, it's truly their lesson to learn so that they can level up and be the powerful spiritual leaders that they're meant to be, because they can sell it. They can really sell it with genuine passion, not like a snake oil salesman, They also make great coordinators and like social event planners and things like that, even preachers and teachers. They're the ones that can teach you how to walk in faith. Once they learn that lesson themselves, they're the strongest in it. Libra, for example, is sometimes stubborn and could even be a little bit sneaky occasionally, or maybe even a little two-faced, you would say, right? And that's one of their lessons, is to learn how to balance all that. And again, I'm not mentioning these things to make any of you feel badly, just to maybe help you be a little more aware of deceptions that are within you or within others, and that it's just naturally there, and it's purposeful. It's for a lesson, okay? So please don't take it personally like I'm attacking anyone, because I'm telling you so that you can learn. Because Libras are also very beautiful people. All zodiac signs are very beautiful people. And I particularly, one of my children is a Libra, and one of my siblings is also a Libra, and I have several friends that are Libras, and they're all great people. So I'm not trying to put down Libras. I'm really not. Or the Aquarius, or Sagittarius, or Cancerians, or anybody that I've mentioned. But we all have our weak spots, and we all have our strong suits. And it's important to be honest with yourself about where those are and what they are, so that you can improve. You can become prepared spiritually. You see? Because if you can be honest with yourself about what's going on in you, you're going to be able to clearly see what's honestly going on around you, so that there's not chaos and confusion and fear with the things that we're going to be experiencing in our future. I want you to be prepared so that you can go through this with a level head, and using that logical mind as the tool that it was meant to be, your faithful servant. So all the signs have something to learn for themselves, and then it benefits society, it benefits others. So I would like to ask you to start to do more regular check-ins and ask yourself, am I happy? Am I sad? And why? Like, try to find out why. And do something about it. Am I being genuine with myself? Am I being genuine and honest with others? Am I really putting my best self out there for me? Am I really putting my best self out there for others with no expectations, you know? Where can I improve? And where do I see where I've already improved that I can give myself some credit? Because I don't want you to do this to beat yourself up. I want you to do this from a mature adult perspective. What do my interactions and relationships right now look like? What do they feel like? What could be different in them? Where could I improve to make them different? Because that's the key. It's so easy for us to blame others or pass the buck rather than own our own shit and take responsibility for where we could do something better. And no relationship, whether it's with your family, your friends, or your significant other, is ever going to be perfect. There are always going to be lessons to learn and room to grow, as it should be. It's all purposely done that way. I also just, on a side note, I realize I'm a psychic. I do that for a living. I do tarot on YouTube, etc. But I want you all to use a little err on the side of caution, is what I'm trying to say for you. Err on the side of caution when it comes to listening to the psychic's predictions or the tarot readers. Because those general predictions, those general readings, can cause more confusion than creating clarity in a lot of situations. That's why I encourage people to do the personals. And that's why I've kind of fallen back on doing the tarot readings so much on my own channel. Not just is it energetically taxing to me, but I think also it's energetically taxing to me because my heart isn't fully in it for those reasons. Because like I can't watch too many tarot readings for myself personally without it feeling confusing and conflicting and leaving me with more questions than answers. And so, you know, I'm that type of person, like I won't put my stamp of approval on a product unless I really believe in it, kind of an attitude. And if I do really believe in it, I'll put my stamp of approval on it for free. They don't have to pay me to say it's great. Like charcoal toothpaste, charcoal bristled toothbrushes with the bamboo handle. I freaking love them. They're the most awesome toothbrush ever. And nobody has to pay me to do that. So, for me personally, I just, like, my conviction will not allow me to do things that are not in full harmony with how I feel personally about things. You know, I'm not going to, I'm no snake oil salesman, right? That's what I'm getting to. I'm genuine. I'm going to be genuine and legit with you about everything. If I don't know something, I'm going to tell you I don't know it. And if I'm telling you I know it, you can damn take it to the bank. I do. I know what I'm talking about if I'm saying it. Because I take that stuff seriously. And I'm trying really hard not to just like cuss like a sailor, because that's who I am. But I take that stuff seriously. So just err on the side of caution for yourselves with the whole listening to a bunch of psychics or listening to a bunch of tarot readers. I'm not saying don't listen to them. I'm just saying maybe, you know, if you notice that it makes you feel more confused than clear, fall back from it. Maybe just pick out a couple that do resonate with you really well and just stick with them only, you know. or get those personal readings done for yourself. Lots of people offer them quite inexpensively. As a matter of fact, I have a cheap sale going on myself, but I know that sounds like I'm doing a plug, and I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not. But I just know, for me personally, it makes me feel more conflicted and confused if I watch very many tarot readers or very many predictions and stuff, or hear them, listen to them. You know, I listen to Coast to Coast a lot, and recently they just did a whole bunch of different predictions with different psychics, and none of them even really matched up with what the other ones were saying. And I'm just like, you know, this is what gives psychics a bad name, unfortunately. You know, but it doesn't mean that none of them are truly psychic. It's just the piece of the puzzle that they're being shown. So it is important to take all those pieces and try to put them together and see a bigger picture sometimes. But only if it feels right in your spirit. If it feels conflicting, if it feels confusing, just step away from it for a while, okay? That's all I'm trying to ask you to do. Because, you know, it's a new year, lots of predictions out there. So, err on the side of caution with that. And I also want to ask you, in the year of 2023, perhaps be open to predicting your own future. Focus on what your heart truly wants and where you see yourself going this year. And make no apologies about it. Whatever it is that you desire to see for your life for this year, focus your intent on that. Focus your thought on that. Focus your emotional energy on that. And predict your own future. Because you can. You truly can. If you're a creator, then you're also a predictor of what is to be, of what is to come. I'm going to close this out now. We've been going about an hour and 30. Close to an hour and 30. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. 95% of our growth comes when we are the most uncomfortable. Until we learn how to do those check-ins regularly and grow willingly. So it is of service to you to do these check-ins more often with yourself. Be honest with yourself as often as you can be, and grow and change and improve where needed, willingly, by free will choice, to avoid the uncomfortable growing pains of life. The darkness is upon us, and we have the choice to turn on the light. If you would like to get a piece of paper and a pencil, or grab your phone, I'm going to leave you with an affirmation of how to walk in faith. Lead me straight and lead me true. I walk in faith. I walk with you. As you say this affirmation, as often as you wish, I want you to have images in your mind of what this looks like for you. What does your year of 2023 look like? What does your day look like? What does your week look like? What does this month look like? What does February and March and April and summer look like for you? Get those images in your mind and feel the emotion of that as you say this affirmation. Lead me straight. Lead me true. I walk in faith as I walk with you. It's a prayer, if you will. A proper prayer, I would even say. Where you aren't begging, you're choosing carefully what you ask for. Specifically, lead you straight and lead you true will lead you only where you need to be for you. And if you know this, if you walk in true faith in knowing this, that knowing that God is by your side, think of that footprint in the sand image, right? God walking beside you, not Jesus. Don't get it twisted and get all the Christian stuff mixed up in there. If God is walking beside you, your Creator, and His footprints are in the sand next to yours, okay? Lead me straight and lead me true. I walk in faith as I walk with you, knowing that God is by your side. And your guides are by your side, and your archangels that are assigned to you for the gifts that you have to offer the world are beside you. Your ancient ones, your ancestors, beings from other planets or solar systems or galaxies even, or dimensions, could be walking with you. The more you request their presence and their guidance, the more they will all appear and be there with you as those footprints in the sand next to yours. Have a blessed day, a blessed night, a blessed week, a blessed year. I'll see you soon.